Welcome back to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. Today we're going to talk, it's October. So we all know typically October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so that's what we're going to talk about. But we're going to shift kind of our mindset. A lot of us know someone that's either been directly or indirectly affected by breast cancer, whether it's a family friend or a friend of a family friend. We know someone. And so I think the awareness part is there. What we need to shift to is what can we do to prevent it? And by prevention, I don't mean if you do this, you're not going to get breast cancer. I mean, how do we decrease our risk? Just like if you don't want to be in a car accident, if you wear your seatbelt, if you're a defensive driver, if you go the speed limit, you're less likely to get in an accident, but it doesn't mean you're promised not to. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to give you 8 tips on how you can decrease the likelihood or your chances of getting breast cancer. Before we get started, Dr. Jess, though, what is in your glass today?
So I'm working on my cup of coffee. So low acidic bean with a little bit of half and half. Gets me started. So Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
I have some coffee with a little bit of cream. So
Yeah, perfect.
get my morning going.
So as Dr. Bobbie was saying, it's breast cancer is a big topic in the month of October. So we want to be part of that conversation and in a way of saying like, let's not be afraid of it. Let's talk about it and say, what can we do about it? And so sometimes we think it's like we're destined to get breast cancer if we're female over a certain age, because of bad genetics or because of, some of these things that are outside of our control. But really, genetics only play a 5 to 10% risk factor in your case. And so some people do have a really high risk based on genetics, but that's some people. And so there is genetic testing that you can do. And if you do have family members affected, I would highly recommend doing genetic testing. It's something that I've done on myself because breast cancer does run in my family. Multiple people in my family have had it. And so I'm just super passionate about this topic because it has greatly impacted our family. So I do preventive screening early. I started at 35, so I do everything I can proactively, which is a big part of this topic is because we do want to do things that are preventative in nature. Even though we can't make every bad thing not happen, we can decrease risk, which gives us a sense of control, right? It's like, oh, I could
Right.
do something about this and decrease the chance that this happens.
Well, and when I hear you say genetics, it's 5 to 10%. What I hear is that means 90% I have control over.
Right.
And that is huge. If you had a 90% chance of winning the lottery, would you play?
Right.
Right?
I would.
Like if you had
Yeah.
a 50% chance you'd play, right? So you have a 90%, you can affect your risk factor a significant amount just by making some small changes.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to start with. So what are these changes that we can make? And these are all things that are like legitimately like there's research that supports this stuff. So this isn't like, oh, maybe we should just, do something because it's considered to be healthy. This is evidence-based information. So first is eat more fruits and vegetables. So that I know sometimes it seems like wah, wah, same thing over and over again. However, there is a lot of nutrients in fruits and vegetables it helps our body function how it's supposed to function. And so when we have that diversity of food, it's keeping our microbiome as healthy as possible. And that is a huge part of our immune system. And our immune system is what's getting rid of cells that shouldn't be there. Cells that like should be kind of taken away and our body discards them. If it doesn't do that and those cells start to replicate, that can turn into a tumor. And so we want our immune system at its highest, not a hyperactive immune system, that would be something different, but we want a good, healthy immune system. So, Dr. Bobbie, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, and when we were looking at research for all of this, one thing we found is that most, not all, you're going to have people that are younger, but most breast cancer happens after the age of 62 in postmenopausal women. And they found that eating those vegetables, it like decreased your risk up to 27%. And I think just that's huge. And overall, vegetables are just good for us in general. So you're improving your health and decreasing your risk. And
Exactly.
to me, they taste good. I know some people don't like them, but I love my fruits and vegetables.
And there's like different ways that you can make them and combine them and
Hmm.
things like that. But more or less, like eating the rainbow every day is the recommendation.
Hmm.
Because every color of the food is going to have different nutrients in that food. So more or less, if you eat the rainbow, you'll be getting a good diversity of nutrients in a day-to-day basis.
I think it's important when we talk about these fruit and vegetables, and they were saying that it's important to eat the whole, like unprocessed versus like apple juice. So eating an apple versus apple juice is a huge difference. And they actually saw an uh, uh, increased breast cancer in those that did the juice versus those that ate whole unprocessed food. So when we're talking about veggies and fruits, it's important to know that like we're talking about the actual unprocessed food.
Right, absolutely. All right, so number two, manage stress and practice self-care. And that seems like, oh, but my life is crazy and this and that, and I don't have time for self-care. And essentially, we've done episodes on this, and we've done episodes on chronic stress and what that does to your body. And nobody's life is perfect. I totally get that. I run a million miles an hour. Dr. Bobbie runs a million miles an hour. I definitely live in a glass house and throw stones all the time. This is something that the self-care aspect is something that honestly, like you just have to force it into your day. You have to. It's not just going to magically appear, and managing stress isn't magically going to happen. Like you have to make a concerted effort on not a daily basis, sometimes an hourly basis. So like keep that in perspective, right? So like right now, is this something that I'm going to let my cortisol rise? I'm going to have my heart rate elevate. I'm going to get myself worked up. I'm going to get into these ruminating thoughts. Is this equal to that? Because that is what's causing harm to my body. All of this big cascade of hormones, over extended periods of time, it breaks our body down. So our control is how we respond to stress. We can't stop stress from happening. We can only control how we respond, and that takes practice. So, Dr. Bobbie, like, what are some of the things that you've done to really help with managing stress?
I think the important is for everyone, it's a little different. So for me, listening to music, like for me, when I listen to music, I can connect to that music and I can kind of let things go in a way that I can't if I'm just speaking, if I'm doing something. Now, when I combine that with like going for a walk, so taking my daughter on a walk outside, like there's just something combining those two is really helpful for me. Now, I can't always put on music and take my daughter for a walk if I'm in the middle of work or in the middle of something. So then I like at that point it's like closing my eyes, taking a deep breath, taking 30 seconds to a minute for myself, kind of calm down in my head. First I calm down and then two I think of like how important is this or what can I do? Can I make any changes in this moment? Could I make a difference? And if I'm dealing with someone else, is this the right time to approach them? Or do I just need to let it go, be the bigger person, and address it at a later time? It doesn't mean what happened was okay if it's like I feel like they're in the wrong, but maybe right now isn't the time to address it.
Right.
And so I just kind of, in that 30-second a minute, as I'm calming myself down, my eyes are closed and I just kind of deep breath. I'm making all those decisions, and then I can have a little bit of a clearer mind and decrease my heart rate and decrease the stress levels because if you know Dr. Jess and I, you know how much we love the blue zones. And not only is stress related to breast cancer and health, it's related to like how long you live. Like the more stressed you are, the less likely you are to have a long, healthy life. And all of us want a long but healthy life. None of us want to be stuck in a bed or a chair. We want to be up and moving and enjoying life to its fullest. So stress is definitely a huge factor into
Absolutely.
health. How about you, Dr. Jess? I know you
Yeah.
like to do a lot of meditation.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely love meditation. And when you practice meditation, that's what it is practice. In the quiet time, when you have time, it gets you stronger with meditating. So then when you take that pause, I can tell when I'm gonna respond, and not the best way. And that's that pause as you breathe in, okay? You want to exhale longer than you inhale. So if you breathe in over 3 to 4 seconds, you want to exhale 4 to 5 seconds. That immediately will cause a cascade of hormone release that will be calming hormones. It's your parasympathetic nervous system. So when the sympathetic nervous system is starting to rile you up and you're about to get into that, like, okay, like I'm going to go at it with my words, which is not helpful at all, then I'm going to go ahead and like kick my parasympathetic nervous system in. And that fastest way to do that for me is like exhale longer than I inhale. Once I do 2 to 3 breaths like that, it's like everything automatically becomes more clear. Like, how do we need to handle this right now in the moment? Does it need to be handled right now? Do you just walk away? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's times where it's like nothing good's gonna happen. So, like, bye. Like you're not going to get this out of me. Like you want a reaction, but like you don't deserve that. You don't deserve my time. Bye. You know, sometimes it does need to respond. Sometimes you do. Like I just had an incident in the office yesterday and it was a medical event. And it's like in the moment we have to respond. I don't have time to take that breath, but after it's like, okay, everything's fine. Everything's okay. Cool. Now I'm going to take my breath. I'm going to debrief with the staff as well. Is everybody good? If everything was handled well. Everybody did a great job. We're solid, right? So just taking that time to debrief a stressful event as well helps you not hold it and go home with that, right? It's like everything was fine. Things are going to happen. People have health conditions, and that's okay. So as long as we responded well, we came about it as a team. But like I debrief myself after things, but I do appreciate debriefing as a group as well if there is a stressful event with others around
Mhm.
you. And so it's just like the pause is key. It really is. And don't hold whatever that is and bring it home with you. Like process it and move on. Like you've got more events coming up.
Can't
Honestly,
carry it
like
all home.
don't bring it home. Really don't. Or if you're at home, don't bring it to work. Like debrief it, process it, and do the best you can to let it go. It's hard. It's so hard. But that is like number one. And self-care, that just is like anything you enjoy. I enjoy running. I enjoy gardening. I schedule it in. Because if I don't, it'll never happen. So like Dr. Bobbie, what's your self-care?
So I lately it's just been walking with my daughter. I am looking at getting back into working out and things like that, but I will say it's just walking. Just being with her, being outside. We are about to hit winter, so that will change. I'll have to change my plan, but that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I love that. And you make it happen,
So
right? And so that's
yeah,
the important part. It's different for everybody.
and a lot of grace because it doesn't happen as often as I want it to or as it should, but just each week I just keep working on trying to make it better and better. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
all right, so we have eat fruits and veggies, one, manage stresses, two. Looking at three is another topic we love, sleeping. We need to sleep. So, Dr. Jess, tell us a little like how does sleep decrease our risk of breast cancer?
So sleep is like so important. And we are going to link, we've got some episodes that we've talked about sleep. So we'll link those descriptions if you really want to dive deep into sleep, because like I really love sleep. The more I've learned about it. So as far as sleep, this is going to be like the main time that our immune system is functioning at its highest. And it's when we are detoxifying our body. So our body's not having to function. We don't have to think. We don't have to respond. We don't have to walk. We don't have to run. We don't have to do all of this stuff. So our body can actually go to work for our body. So like it's really, really important to sleep and to sleep well. So meaning that you're getting restorative sleep, not this like up and down, like you're like asleep for a little bit, but you never really finish your REM cycle, and then you get back up again and you're back down. Like you feel like you're wrecked. There's a lot of ways to improve sleep so that you get that like nice, deep sleep for an extended period. Ideally, 7 to 8 hours. Everybody's a little bit different though. Um, and, sleep hygiene is part of it, making sure that you're getting enough movement during the day is part of it, managing stress is part of it. But sleep and sleeping well is really about lifestyle. This is not a major medical condition when you're not sleeping well, unless you're coming into like something like, you know, not like just falling asleep during the day or something like that. But like if you're just not sleeping well at night, that's most likely a lifestyle issue. Unless or you have sleep apnea, that would be medical. But the majority of people, it's not. So Dr. Bobbie, what have you worked on to improve your sleep?
So I'm so happy to announce that the first thing is this week, my daughter has slept through the night more times than she ever has in her life. So I've had like 4 nights of like no interrupted sleep. So for me, that is huge. Um, I have to work on though what I do before I go to bed. Because I do find right now I'm feeling a little stressed before I go to bed. I used to before I lived with my boyfriend, I used to like have like meditation apps that I would play or I would read, but it's a little different because he likes to watch TV and he doesn't like the sound machines that I like. So, we're in the process right now of trying to find a little bit of a better routine for falling asleep. But I am happy to say once I fall asleep, I am now getting 5 to 6, maybe 7 straight hours of sleep, and it's made a huge difference. I couldn't help it before. I couldn't help that my daughter would wake up 1, 2 times and I'd be up for an hour in the middle of the night. I'm not going to let her sit there and cry. So that's different. I can't control that. Um, but man, I'll tell you, I feel like a new person when I get a full night of sleep. So if we have the opportunity, it's definitely something to work on because it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I used to really struggle with falling asleep. And I realized for me, the issue was I didn't give myself enough calm down time before trying to fall asleep. And so, like, my husband is different. So, like, literally, by the end of the day, he can sit down 10 minutes, he can be out. I mean, out cold. It's like impressive, really impressive. I need like at least an hour of just like quiet time where my brain isn't working and I'm just either like reading or just watching a show, the lights are off, and I just can just like let my brain activity come down. Otherwise, I start thinking again, right?
Mhm.
And so as long as I have that like adequate amount of time, bam, I fall asleep just fine. So I was just trying to cram too much into the day was my problem.
Mhm.
And so I kind of back that back up and it's like again, like new person. Like I have no problem falling asleep anymore. And then everybody has a different change. For my mom, she had to change the temperature in her room by 1 degree. It was just 1 degree too warm. She changed it by 1 degree. We tried a bunch of different things, and then all of a sudden, boom, that was what it was. Her body just couldn't relax all the way. Like,
It's amazing.
yeah,
And if you want to learn more, we really have done a ton of episodes on this. So we will link them in here. There's so much research out there on how
yeah,
important sleep is.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so that was number three. Wait, was that three? Yeah, number
Yeah.
four. So number four is we want to maintain a healthy weight. And so healthy weight does not mean skinny. That's not what we're saying. So what we're saying with a healthy weight is just overall, if you're eating a balanced diet and you're moving your body on a regular basis, more or less, you'll probably find what your healthy weight is. And with not having the stress of carrying extra adipose tissue as weight, especially in the abdominal region, which puts a lot of stress on our organs, like that's the kind of the worst weight to have is in the abdomen, because it really does, like it increases all organ stress. And so,
Mhm.
how do you maintain that? How do you do that? Everybody is different. But for the most part, just balanced diet, there's all sorts of times of day to eat. There's all sorts of like,
Sleeping,
balancing, yeah, I mean, there's so
stress.
many, yeah, all of it. It all matters. Weight is a very complicated topic, and it's not like we're not saying go on a diet. We're not saying to like, go all of a sudden start training for a marathon and like try and drop pounds. We're saying lifestyle modification. So sustainable changes. Start with one thing and then work your way through. And then that's really overall going to be how you're going to get that weight into a healthy weight status.
Mhm. I feel like that's probably out of the eight, that's like the most commonly known one.
Right.
And just for health and all diseases in general, we know it's incredibly hard to do. And that's where if you start with one little thing, or if you start working on those other things, you work on sleep, time blocking your day. We did a whole episode on that. Like if we work on those little things, it will help maintain a healthy weight be easier and
Right.
not so much just focused on food.
Right. And not just focused on the scale. Like, how do your
Yeah.
clothes fit? How do you feel? So the scale is not the only way of what is my weight? Like
Hmm.
that's not necessarily equals health. So just, maintaining a healthy balance between muscle, fat, and connective
Hmm.
tissue. So it's really about that balance between muscle and fat. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
as you said, how is your clothes fitting? That's number five.
Mhm.
Wear comfortable clothes and bras. Now, how in the world does wear comfortable clothing have to do with my risk of breast cancer? Because when I hear that, that's what I think of. Like, what?
Yeah. So as far as like that, it's anything that's tight, especially around the armpit area. So this is where we have big lymph nodes in the armpit. And so when we wear things that are really tight and restrictive, it can block lymphatic flow and it can create compression that's not necessary. And so that's not necessarily going to like make breast cancer more likely to happen. However, breast cancer, if it's going to spread, is going to spread to the lymph nodes first. And so we don't want to put stress on an area where you could have a metastases that has started to spread. So that's just kind of overall, just kind of in general, maintaining good lymphatic health is that we don't overly compress and restrict areas of the body. It creates tourniquets,
Mhm.
which is just not healthy.
And I think for any of you out there, the biggest clothing piece is your bra
Yeah,
at that point. And how many of you have gone in and actually gotten a new bra lately? I mean, unless you've like changed sizes, had a child or anything, like most of us, we put on bras and we wear them for years.
right.
Um, Sometimes once in a while, update them, get a fitting, make sure they're fitting you properly. It also makes a huge difference in comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many like different ones out now that are like
Hmm.
really built for comfort and support. So that's fantastic.
Yes.
All right, moving on.
So going on to six.
Yes.
Um, Go for it, Jess. You got number six.
So we're going to talk about supporting estrogen detoxification. Well, how do I do that? That seems like hard. It's really not. So how do you do that? Really, you eat a nutrient-rich diet, specifically in cruciferous vegetables. So like it's like broccoli, vegetables like that. And that is going to directly support liver detoxification of estrogen. And when does that happen? When we sleep. So what we eat matters, how we sleep matters, because all of that is supporting our body's ability to detoxify overnight. And so you're just setting yourself up for success. It really all it's all circular is going to be
Mhm.
the big point that we're going to be telling you.
Yes. So moving to seven, we're looking at optimizing our vitamin D levels. And we all know vitamin D, we get it from the sun. And a lot of us aren't out in the sun enough. The other part is if you live up in the north like I do, sometimes you don't have sun. But this is important because it's a fat soluble nutrient and it has hormone like actions in the body. So when your vitamin D is low, it will negatively impact like bone health, immunity, and your disease risk. So it's important to kind of keep those levels up, whether it be through a supplement like would have to do in the winter, or by going outside and getting some good sunlight.
Right. Yeah, it's actually like one of those things where we want to go, especially if you're female, you want to go into your perimenopause and menopause years with a nice, really high vitamin D levels. Not super high. You can take too much. But you want to like this you really ideally would be tracking yearly with your primary care. Like in your blood work, they should be kind of showing you, hey, here's where you are. We want to keep this high, or you're here. We want to get this higher, or you're too high, we want to keep this back down. Maybe don't take a supplement, right? Maybe you're getting too much. And so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I know I've definitely worked on my vitamin D. I do a little bit of supplementation, and that like taking it daily was too much for me, but I'm outside a lot. But I
Mhm.
do like my numbers were actually not stellar. Like I did want them to be a little bit higher. And I've noticed like my immune system is functioning way better just with adding that one little thing, which was fantastic. So,
Mhm.
all right,
And then
last
last
but
but
not
not
least.
least, not jinx. Number 8 is also a topic I love, reduce toxin exposures. Now, these are toxins that are environmental, the air around you, but things you can control, right? What you put on your body, making sure the lotion, the makeup, the shampoo, conditioner you're using doesn't have toxins inside of it. It also goes with your food, making sure that you're eating whole, healthy, unprocessed food, not as limit as much as packaging. We always do talk 80/20. So there is that 20% in there that live life, have the pizza, eat the mac and cheese, those type of things. But the 80% is looking at like unprocessed foods.
Yeah. And the main issue is because many toxins are endocrine disruptors. And so the
Mhm.
endocrine system is our hormone system. And so scents and shampoos and lotions and all these things that have that candles that have this like really strong scent that's a chemical based scent is known. It's highly known to be an endocrine disruptor. So it disrupts our hormone system, which then increases our risk of certain types of cancers. And so we've done episodes on toxin exposures and what happens, and just ways to reduce your risk of having toxins in your day-to-day life. So again, we'll like link episodes about that, and then you can always check our playlists as well if you have any interest in learning more about this stuff, because we're obviously into it and like we really love sharing this information. So to sum it all up, if you want to decrease your risk of breast cancer and do things that are preventative in nature that really are somewhat easy to implement but just take some time and planning for certain things, then these are your 8 things. You want to eat more fruits and vegetables. You want to manage stress and practice self-care. You want to make sure you're sleeping well. Maintain a healthy weight. That's body composition, not just on the scale, okay? You want to make sure you're wearing comfortable clothing. You want to support estrogen detoxification. This is a lot with the cruciferous vegetables. You want to optimize your vitamin D levels and make sure to reduce your toxin exposure. So if this is information that you found helpful, please share it with somebody in your life and just say, hey, I didn't realize X, Y, or Z. Like this might help you. The whole idea is that if we constantly pay it forward and spread knowledge, then we can empower those around us. So
Mhm.
if you like this kind of information, then make sure to like click subscribe. We're on all the social media channels. We put some stuff out on there as well. So, all right, everybody, stay tuned for next week. Hope you found this helpful.